So this is our format 2 revision. Alright. Version 1. Format 2, version 1. So first we initialize, then we input, and then we have this while thing, or in the brackets we would put that condition which is basically required in the question. Like here it says input a set of positive numbers which end with -1. Alright. So you might have different conditions. Conditions that say while number is greater than 0, or while number is greater than -1, while number does not become -1, while number is not equal to minus. It's up to you. How do you interpret it? Examiner really they don't concern until unless you put something which is really out of the world. Alright, so let's start. So as usual we will leave 1 or 2 lines for the initialization, and initialization, and then second thing that we would do is input. Alright, input. So we would simply write what we will write. Let's just read this question once. Write an algorithm using pseudocode or flowchart which inputs a set of positive numbers. Let's just don't think about positive numbers. Let's just input a number. ठीक है? Input for the sake of question, let's just call it positive number. Alright, input positive number. Then what your format says, while condition is something that we have to determine from our question. So condition says positive number which ends with -1. So let's see how do we put it. While Pn is not equal to, this sign is not equal to sign, because this thing you don't see on keyboard. So if it is not available, there must be a way doing it. So in computer languages we use many symbols like this is not equal to, or maybe this is not equal to. So this is a standard case. Okay, we will use this case here. If Pn, while Pn is not equal to -1. So again this do is optional. So if it is there, this is no error. If it is not there, again there is no problem with it. Alright. So while Pn is not equal to -1. Now we don't have any formula. Alright, so when no formula, there is no need of any output. Totaling. Let's see what the next line says. Next line says output the average value of the input numbers. So it means that for average you need a total. Alright, so what we do, let's just write. Again, indentation is a good idea. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to do this totaling. So total is equal to total plus what? That we have entered, which is positive number. Output the value of the largest. So it means that we don't have any counting. ठीक है? But we require this counting, which is counting without decision. We don't need any count with decision because they haven't asked for how many numbers were greater than this or less than this. But for average we need to have two things, the total and the total amount of total quantity of the numbers entered. Since in format 1 this is already given, in here it is not given. So we have to do it here ourselves. So we will increase the count. This is what we are going to do now. Counting, and that counting is without decision. So what we would do, count is equal to count plus 1. So that now we would have an idea that how many values are entered as of yet? One value. So if this particular loop goes on again and again and again, in every loop count will increase by 1. So there is no condition attached. Alright. So what it says then? Output the largest value. So extreme values now. But for this extreme value, all we have to do is just simple thing. This is if positive number is greater than largest then largest is equal to positive number, and if. What else we need now? Again we have to input. Now why do we need to do this input once again as per the format? This one, just to continue with the loop. As we know that this particular, if we write this here, and while this and while would send our control back to while, and then it continues again from the while towards end while, and end while sends it back to while again. So this would go on without any input. So the first input was just merely for the sake lest our user would have already entered -1 as the first value. If they have done this, that they have entered -1 as the first value, there is no need to run this loop. As your question says, that you need to end it with -1. But if you enter the loop, then you would have to have this input once again. And taking input here has no point because you have already taken it. So you would do the rest, and then before you go back to while, you would have to have the next input. That would be the input inside the loop. So here we will take that input, and this would be same input as the above, means input positive number. So this input is done as well, this end while is done as well. Now your question require you to do this average too. Okay, for this average, what we would do, simple again as we were doing it in format 1, average is equal to total. Now earlier you had this total given, the number of values given, like 500 cars and 30 students. In this case you are not given with anything, rather than you are given with a condition. That is why we call it condition based loops. Now in order to have average, we have to have a count of the total values which were input. So that is why we were doing this thing, count. Alright, so now we would use this count here, and we just put count. So whatever the total, whatever the number of counts, come on, wake up, we have it. So what do we output then? In order output, average, and largest. Alright, this is simple because most of it you have already learned in format 1. So this is very simple.